Hello, good morning, beautiful souls. I'm feeling very grateful for music, for the sounds of nature, for the stillness of this time of year, for the cool weather, and for the opening that is available in the stillness. It's very interesting when we take time to slow down, unwind. Even if you, maybe like me, resist that transition into the slowing down or the stillness of the fall and winter. But as that subsides as well, we can get into this space of reflection and integration and doing the inner work, right? And there's a very beautiful thing that starts to happen. You realize that things that we resist at certain points can now start to bring us joy and openness and freedom and liberation. So, in that, you recognize the miracle of all of life, the beauty that is available in each and every moment. Should we also make ourselves available? So this morning, may you be available to the abundance that is with you always. May you be available to the power within you to open, to witness, to breathe in and become one with all that is around you. Because though life is full of waves, undulating waves of peaks and valleys, in every moment there is also miraculous beauties available for us to witness. Should we stop resisting and make ourselves available to the moment, available to that which is happening here and now. This morning, I've been going through this book for a while now, and it's called The Places That Scare You by Pema Chodron. There you go. And it's so potent. Yesterday we were talking about the near enemies of loving kindness. And today we're talking about another one of the 4 limitless qualities, compassion. Right? We all aspire to be kind and loving and compassionate. But on our way to compassion, we can get lost by the near enemies. Right? So the near enemy of loving kindness yesterday was attachment, or linchak, as it said in, I believe, Sanskrit. But for compassion, it's not the far enemy, which is cruelty, right? The ways we protect ourselves against being vulnerable or the pain that we feel from our own past trauma. But it's the near enemies that get in our way. And the near enemies of compassion are pity, overwhelm, and idiot compassion. And it's so interesting, right? We may see someone who's struggling and then look for ways to connect with them, not realizing that we're actually not being compassionate or empathetic. Maybe we're engaging in pity, which is when they feel helpless, or we see them as helpless rather. Or the other near enemy is idiot compassion. It's when we say yes when we need to say no. We betray ourselves to show compassion. And finally, the last one, overwhelm, is a sense of our own helplessness. We get overwhelmed by the emotions or the situation. I'm going to talk to the one that's speaking to me mostly this morning. And I think the term is overwhelm. Because I think in this age, especially, we're inundated with information on these apps. And we have the internet. We have the gift of this technology that connects us to so much information in this information age. But it can be overwhelming One, because I don't think our biology was ever meant to connect to so many other souls and so many other stories at once, and so many others' emotions, right? If I remember correctly, there was a study done talking about the average size of a village or a tribe, and that number was 150. And if you think of maybe your inner circle, right, or maybe your expansive circles, your inner circle, your social circle, and then just the network of people you know, that number is likely to be around 150 between work, home life, and your local community. So it's that part that we are taking in more. And then there is also the fact that, well, what is very loud or gets the most views is usually something very traumatic, right? Very incendiary, right? A death, a murder, injustice. And so that in itself is a lot if what we are taking in is just the heaviness. But the defining characteristic of overwhelm is a sense of helplessness within ourselves, right? So with all that's going on in the world that is beyond our control, feeling helpless, right? Knowing that this tragedy has happened or an injustice has happened in a part of the world, what can I do? Maybe I can boycott. Maybe I can vote a particular way. That is something. But how do I move beyond this feeling of overwhelm and return to true compassion? Right? So maybe it's good for us to return to the definition of compassion. I think before the last year or two, doing a deep dive into the subject of compassion, I might have thought it was just being kind or empathetic. But the true definition of compassion is our capacity to hold suffering. To hold suffering, which is clearly something different. But what does that mean? To hold suffering? I think if you're like me, I don't think any of us want to hold it. Right? But what that is speaking to is actually our relationship to suffering and our own emotions, and what comes up when we are with the suffering of others, the tragedies we hear about on the news in the world, the injustices. Do we close down our hearts, or do we open and allow that energy to move through us and to move us, whether it be to tears, sorrow, and sadness, or another emotion, to really feel it, right? And so there's layers to this. Yesterday we were talking about self as a process, not me versus you, but recognizing that just as in this moment I'm receiving from you guys, and you're receiving from me. There's always a divine co-creation, a coalescing, and a never-ending revision, growth, and evolution of who we are. And in that way, self is a process that includes every soul, right? One. So, when we get back into this understanding of self as a process, there is a beautiful opening that we become available to. We recognize that as one suffers, so do I. And as I am available to the way the process is moving through another, I can cultivate my capacity to hold the suffering of another. Right? The same way our physical body will adapt, our emotional body, our psychological body can adapt if we are mindful and present. It's a line to toe there, right? So, stepping out of overwhelm, feeling helpless, into compassion, recognizing that my presence helps, right? Just as my presence has an impact on you, yours has an impact on me. And then the balance of that is knowing that we don't want to tiptoe into idiot compassion, right? Meaning we take on more responsibility than what resonates or what we're able to hold, which many of us can step into if we are still in our woundedness and illusion, right? So idiot compassion is saying yes when you really need to say no, setting boundaries, right? So stepping out of overwhelm, helplessness into true compassion. I'm going to hold space for your suffering. How am I going to do it? In an honest way, honoring my boundaries, honoring my limitations, and by recognizing I don't have to fix your problem. It's not necessarily my responsibility. That's your responsibility, whatever's happening in your world. However, I can be a support to your process of healing and growth and transitioning through that circumstance as much as I'm able, right? It's a line to toe. So when we say holding suffering, compassion is holding suffering. It's being present to the energies and emotions that are happening within another individual, while also honoring our personal boundaries and capacity. And this takes a great deal of presence, right? So we have to be careful here, because as we sidestep overwhelm by not deciding it's helpless and just surrendering to our anxieties or stresses, and we move into being present and holding space, but trying to do that in a balanced way by not practicing idiot compassion, we also don't want to fall into the other near enemy, pity, which is kind of a professional warmth, right? Which is where we see the other as helpless, right? It's a balance, right? The triangle, if you will. Pity, overwhelm, and idiot compassion. So we don't see the other as helpless. We don't see ourselves as helpless. But we also recognize how we can help without betraying ourselves, right? How can we help without betraying ourselves? So first thing is real presence. So we can just start by being with the other. What is happening within them? This is happening. They're going through a difficult season. And noticing how it feels in our bodies when we are really present to the other. Okay, we feel their sorrow, their sadness, their heaviness. Where do we want to close? When you notice that you're closing, why are you closing, right? This is us being present to ourselves and our capacity, and how it might be igniting something within us that could be pushing our boundaries, and it's an opportunity to cultivate greater compassion. So we have to learn this dance, right? This is why self is a process, because moment to moment, day to day, breath to breath, your capacity is going to shift. And so in that closing, can you stay present to your own suffering and open? And what is helpful is, as you witness your own closing, maybe I'll turn my awareness back out to the other. This is the importance of a beautiful practice called Tonglen, which is giving and receiving, or sending and receiving, which is intentional breathing in of the suffering of others and breathing out peace and compassion and love and grace. Good energy. Something I practice every day when I'm on my lives, or when I'm holding space for the Beautiful Souls community as we meditate, or as I'm creating content. I'm intentionally practicing Tonglen, because I've learned as I've cultivated this practice of transference of energy, it doesn't get stuck within me, right? So this is why noticing where we close is important, because when you close, well, what have I done? I've created a little cell. I've trapped the energy. And I'm feeling anxious, and it's with me, and it's heavy, and I'm wondering, how do I get rid of this? I don't want to feel this way, blah, 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 right? All the things we say. We go for a long walk. We may have to wash our hands or face or take a shower, move our bodies, meditate, use our crystals, Reiki, all the things that we may do. And they're important and continue to do them. However, I found that one of the most powerful things is in the moment practicing Tonglen. I breathe it in, and as it comes in, I send it to the ground. I send it to the earth. I send it to the divine to hold and support. I don't take on the responsibility energetically, mentally, psychologically, or physically. I just allow it to move through. Allow yourself to be a conduit. In the same way, I tapped into the limitless, boundless nature of compassion from the same source of the divine to do the same, to allow all of that compassionate peace, which is beyond our understanding, to move through and send that love as well to others. Right? So in this way, we become fully embodied in this self as a process view in an entirely different way. We don't see the other as our enemy because they're having a difficulty, and now I'm being ignited. We don't get lost in that illusion. We stay present to the truth that they are in a process, which means we are in a process. And the role I play in that process can vary depending on my awareness and my present strength and capacity. It is quite the dance, right? But when you are present in that way, you realize, oh, this is just emotion, energy in motion. So let me support the motion of that energy by staying open so it has a clear channel to move through, and not for me to own or identify with. That's the chinpa, the trap, the way we are hooked. Chinpa means hook, right? So if we can stay open, stay open, stay open, stay open with love, conscious openness. The problem is many of us will stay open, will slip into idiot compassion, right? And underneath the surface of that idiot compassion is this view of self versus no self, self versus other. Oh no, they're my enemy, they're making me feel X, Y, and Z, codependence, right? The near enemy of loving kindness we talked about yesterday, attachment. We're attached to this idea of ourselves and this stagnant view that we should never feel suffering, and that it's the other's fault if we're feeling a certain way. When in reality, it starts here. Our worldview, view of self, ego, rigid identities versus an expansive identity. Self as a process, all as one. I get to experience through their suffering an expanded understanding of myself and themselves and the human condition. I also get to understand that my limited views of emotion and how if somebody does a certain thing, I have to respond a certain way or feel a certain way. It's just a belief, right? We talked about this over, I think a bit yesterday, the Lords of Materialism. It's called the Lord of Speech, which is all about our beliefs that we attach onto to gain ground under our feet, to feel like we are secure in this moment, when in reality, every moment is fundamentally impermanent and insecure. Things are shifting every day. Every day. Think of it another way. We're not even in the same place. You may be in your home, but this earth is always moving. It's rotating around the sun. Not only that, it's moving forward through space as it rotates around the sun. You're always in a different place in space and time. Even though your house is moving at that great speed on the earth. Now, in your inner realm, all the thoughts and feelings and emotions that you have, right? All of these things are happening all at once. So, let go of the self-deception. Recognize that life is indeed insecure, but the beautiful thing is that it's supposed to be. Where we struggle is when we try to make the insecure secure. In The Wisdom of Insecurity by Alan Watts, he talks about trying to catch a running water, right? Or river, right? This is what we do. And it sounds, this illustration is great because it points out the silliness of this practice. But we see running water, the flow of life, this powerful force, this creativity, this love, this great energy, this peace, right? And so we go, ooh, I'm going to catch that and hold on to it for myself. So you go get a bucket, put it in the river, pull it out, and you look at it like, ooh, I've got it. In the bucket, the water is no longer running, dear one. It's always that way. Everything. Oh, happiness is the car. Cool. Get the car. You're happy for a day or a week as the energy of the car slows down. And then what happens? Someone hits the car. You realize, the car isn't really happiness, is it? Oh, the job. The partner. Right? This state of being. All of those things. No, life has to flow, has to ebb and flow and change. And beauty is when you see yourself as a part of that flow, you realize that that happiness that you thought was outside of you, the no self, is indeed the self that is always available. So the difference is not trying to grab the thing, the external view that, oh, the Lord of form, this external validation, this seeking security outside of yourself. No, it's recognizing that all of that happiness, that joy, that connectedness, the sorrow, the suffering is all a part of your journey. And the less you are resistant to those things, the more available you are to peace and equanimity as you ride the wave of life. The undulation, the never-ending journey of our existence. But it also starts with faith, right? The opening to what is beyond your understanding. Not in an attached way, but to know that you don't know and that you never will fully. So let me stay open to the new knowing of now. What is the new knowing of now? If you can see all of life as a gift in that way, what is the new knowing of now? Oh, I just felt my shoulders drop. Maybe yours did too. That's what the flow allows us. That's what it offers us. The new knowing of now. Maybe if you can challenge all of those lords of speech, those beliefs along the way, when you're feeling in that moment, you want to be compassionate to another, that empathy, and you feel yourself close a little bit, and you get those thoughts, oh, I don't want to be here, I want to resist, I want to run, and this person is a problem. Is it? Is it true? You can take a moment to say, is it true? Because as soon as you start that dialogue, you've fallen into judgment, you've let be known your belief in the self, no self identity, worldview, which makes you close. And once again, so I have my cup of coffee here, you've taken that bucket trying to capture your peace and put it over here. Now the water has stopped. And all you've done is taken a freeze frame of that heavy emotion you've been feeling. Whatever that was in that moment that we blamed on the other. And now we're stuck there. You're like, and then you vent about it for weeks and days. Until finally what? You start flowing again because your attention isn't focused on that moment. Versus in the moment, staying open. What is the new knowing of now? Yeah, okay, this is happening. I'm not this emotion. It's just something that's moving through. They're processing their beliefs around this subject or this issue, or how they're going to process the heaviness of this hard decision that they have to make. And I can be present for that. But I don't have to be fully responsible. I can let go of that belief. Freedom, the new knowing of now. Oh, I can also just rest in our greatest gift as human beings and simply be. The fullness of our being is the highs and the lows. We are not AI. We are not robots. We are not static beings. Okay, so I can be with the suffering. I can hold the suffering, compassion, true compassion. And as it moves through, I realize my capacity to hold space for the suffering, maybe is a more accurate term, is actually quite great. As long as I remember I don't have to do anything. I don't have to take on responsibility for their suffering. I don't have to resist it. Because if you notice, the near enemies of compassion, pity, overwhelm, and idiot compassion, all points of resistance to just being with the suffering. We decide, oh, this person's helpless, I'll just, so I don't feel it. Or we say, I feel helpless because I take on the full responsibility, right? Or idiot compassion, oh, I'm going to do everything for them because I am going to avoid this feeling. And if I do this, the sooner I just do the thing, it's over. No. Be. Make yourself available to the shift in your states of being, the shift in your understanding, the shift and expansion of your light, of your soul. Because every time you're trying to capture that moment in a bucket and run, take it with you, your peace or your limited capacity or whatever these illusions are you have created to feel secure, you diminish the ever-expansive nature of your light, your soul, the field of energy that is your existence. That's always given an opportunity to evolve, to shift, to expand, to grow. All right? So if you spend time open with this person as they're suffering, you can witness their suffering, witness yourself contracting and breathing it in consciously with Tonglen. I breathe in the suffering of others and all the other souls on earth that are experiencing the same thing. Discord with their relationships, their partners, financial insecurity, physical health issues. And recognize we're all on this journey together. You're taking in the flow of life and allowing it to move through you. And for me, I always find it valuable to visualize the energy coming in and going down into the earth. And as it goes into the earth has the ability to sustain and support, connect to the divine. And as I breathe in the air, the support of all of the plant life around me. A symbiotic relationship that I can't say I fully understand, though we can look at the science and understand the stomata, that the leaves actually have an opening that is similar to the mouth as they breathe in our air and exhale oxygen that we breathe in. This freshness, this flow that's always happening, right? It regulates our nervous system. Right? The physical is a manifestation of the spiritual. It's all one, interwoven. And I'm breathing in this love. Think of the love and consistency that is a symbol of. The earth just giving and giving and giving, even as we are irresponsible in the way that we are showing up to the earth as a collective. No condition. Can I embody that same love and flow? Right? This is the authentic self. This is the heart of authenticity. Being steadfast in the presence of the self as ever evolving, the self as a process, and how can I be available to the new information of now, the new wisdom available through this experience. Because if you can see every moment as an opportunity for greater liberation, greater understanding, and expansion, you become one with that process, the flow, the undulation, the up and down. Let go of the polarized beliefs. Negative, positive, it's just happening. This is true liberation. Right? It's the reason I practice mindfulness meditation every day, Tonglen every day, this giving and receiving. Because I've found that when I'm in those moments are a lot quicker. those moments of the discomfort, the wanting to close, I can open right back up with a conscious breath. Oh yeah, I don't have to close to that suffering. I can just breathe it in, let it out, send it to the earth, give it to the divine, give it to powers beyond me. These two arms can only hold so much. And as I breathe in, I feel the support of that divine flow as well. Oh, of divine love, of the earth, of everything that is beyond me. And I can send that out into the world, just as I'm doing right now in this live. Just having this conversation, right? It's moving something within me as well as you, all of us here, that we get to take with us throughout the rest of our day. And we get to be a part of that flow consciously. This is how we liberate ourselves. This is how we free ourselves. We have to stop trying to capture the flowing river in a bucket and wondering why it stops flowing. No, dear one. Get in the river and surrender. Allow the flow of the river to carry you. And enjoy the journey. Enjoy the lightness you feel when you stop taking responsibility of trying to capture all that water and individuate and protect yourself from every experience and every person, and let life touch you. This is how we return to the heart of authenticity, of who we are, who we really are. This is how we free ourselves. There's no difference between the I and the I-ing, right? Even when you try to individuate, you look back at your life and go, oh, I did this, I did that, I did that. I must be this, I must be that. No, just things that you did. We are so much more than anything the conceptual mind can try to capture in a bucket. You're all of those things. One moment you're dancing, the next moment you're running, the next moment you're talking. Your sorrow, your sadness, your happiness, your joy, your frustration, your melancholy. You are a creator, you are a destroyer. You are honest. You tell white lies occasionally. The intention of the soul is to expand and to grow and to be beautiful. Accept all parts of you and align with the brightest parts of you as often as you're able. And practice gentle self-loving kindness and compassion along the way. Hold space for your suffering. Right? That's why it's called the middle way. It's trying not to get stuck in the near enemies of any of these four limitless qualities. Right? And today we've just been focusing on compassion. And even the language of it's hard to do is a belief. There are other things that you might do quite easily that others will label as hard. Hard, easy, when really it's just unfamiliar. Because if you haven't done it, you don't know it's hard. It's just unfamiliar. Anything you do often becomes easier. You adapt, learn. Your subconscious mind does all of these things as one movement. So, let go of all the ways we resist. Oh, let me throw in a belief here. That's hard. Okay, well, it'll be hard for you. Or I can just stay open to it. What is the beautiful opportunity that this now moment is offering me? And how might I expand with it, into it, versus resisting? Because what I resist persists. So this is the reason why I offer meditation every morning, right? You can feel the shift in your energy just by sitting with these ideas. Some of you can, it's my voice or it's the vibe. It's one thing. The words I'm speaking is the physical manifestation of the energy that I'm holding. The energy I'm holding is open, surrendering to the flow, self as a process, self as connected to you, which is why you feel the energy that I am allowing to flow through me, because I'm open. It's one thing. We like to partition life into all of these little segments. And it's just an illusion. So I encourage you to find a practice of cultivating intentionally compassion, openness, transcending all of these limitations and illusions that we put on ourselves, embracing, as Alan Watts would say, the wisdom of insecurity, or rather the fact of insecurity. There is no finite rigidity, no matter how much money you make, no matter how perfect the love you have cultivated with your partner or family or friends. There is no avoiding the incessant transformation, impermanence, and change that is always true. So, one of the things I'm doing to help be a part of this conscious change is I host meditation every morning at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time in the Beautiful Souls Online community, which is not on social media. It's in a private Zoom. It's part of a community subscription. You can find out more about that at asoulcalledjoel.com. And if you can't be a part of that community live, we do these meditations. Many of our members, actually most of them, do them in their own time because it's a global community. And there's an archive of over 600 meditations now that help you to stay open and present to the newness of life without partitioning and creating all of these beliefs that are actually booby traps for yourself to heighten your suffering versus liberating and opening you to the fullness of life. Or if that feels too committal, you can take part in our 30-day challenge that we're going to use to help us open to the heart of authenticity. For the last couple of years, I've hosted a 30-day challenge. Also, it's a private offering via Zoom for just those who are intentional. So though we have connected this morning through serendipity and just the algorithm bringing you here, scrolling on social media, with this intentional opening to ourselves and cultivation of the practice of true compassion and presence, we can return to who am I really, right? This journey of self-love. How am I talking to myself? How I talk about others is a reflection of my relationship with the self, right? So if you find yourself falling into these patterns of pity, seeing the other as helpless and yourself as the helper, hierarchy, or overwhelm, seeing yourself as helpless because all of life is there, right? It's a victim state of consciousness. And we're overwhelmed, we're stressed, we're anxious, we're sad. Or if you're falling into idiot compassion, saying yes when you need to say no. Thinking that you're keeping the peace, which is only a temporary illusion, when you could create lasting peace, going through a true transformation where you show up authentically as self, in love, finding the middle way of compassion, to be true to who you really are, so that you can cultivate deep connections and give back the responsibility to other individuals. Let go of the illusion. Stop trying to capture the river in a bucket and allow it to flow authentically. Right? So that's called the heart of authenticity. It's a 30-day challenge between, I think it's January 6th we start, so 30 days after that, until the first week of February, I think the 4th. And each night we'll be going into themes of boundaries, opening to self-love, how to engage in all kinds of relationships, along with daily meditation practices to help us actually feel this in our body. So much of how we show up is unconscious. We have an emotion, we have an immediate knee-jerk reaction, and we don't even understand our own inner workings because we haven't taken the time to slow down and be present to this self as a process and what processes are happening in these moments. So, if that resonates, I hope to see you in the community and or the Heart of Authenticity 30-day meditation challenge at the beginning of the year. All of those things are available at my website, asoulcalledjoel.com. And if it doesn't resonate to do it with me, Do it for yourself in the way that does. Because at the end of the day, everything we experience is a reflection of how conscious and intentional each one of us is showing up for ourselves. So I hope that you will choose wisely and show up for yourself in greater alignment with the never-ending process that is this thing called life. I love you all. Thank you for joining me for this morning's live stream. And if you're in the Beautiful Souls community, I'll see you in a half hour for our practice. Be well, beautiful souls. Much love and light. Peace.